Okay, greetings everybody, and welcome to a fascinating session. As you can see, it's really about young people and evaluation. As we all have heard during the last 2 days in the conference, unfortunately, we are living in a multi-crisis world. From the climate crisis to conflict to the COVID. But we also hear that evaluation can and should help the world really to overcome this multi-crisis situation. And the themes of this conference, it really gives us the direction for evaluation. It's about responsive evaluation. So evaluation can help only if it's responsive to today's challenges. And for that to happen, it has to be inclusive for the future. As you probably have heard, often we hear that youth are the future. And I do not agree with that. I think that youth are the present for a better future for everybody. That is very different. So the question is, how do we meaningfully engage young people in evaluation? And how to leverage intergenerational partnership? So we are very happy and glad and lucky today of tackling these issues and these questions with a very rich panel. So I'm Marco Segone. I'm the director of the Independent Evaluation Office of UNFPA, the United Nations Population Fund, based in New York. And today we have really a rich panel. We have Chu Wei, the founder of Horizon, and also director of Global Learning Center and the Tsinghua University here in Beijing. We also have Cheng Wang, who is the Executive Associate of Horizon Global Youth Development Programs and also work at the UNDP office here in Beijing. We have Antonina Rishko-Porcescu, who is one of the leaders of EvalYouth, a global movement of young evaluators and also an independent consultant working with several organizations. We have Abhinash Dash, who is Director of Evaluation at the Monitoring and Evaluation Office in Niti Ayong with the government of India. We have Sakina Mwinyimkuu, Director of Performance Monitoring and Evaluation at the Prime Minister Office in the Republic of Tanzania. And Sohini Mookherjee, who is the lead of the CLEAR South Asia. So you can see a very diverse panels, not only in terms of gender, not only in terms of geographical representations, but also organizational background and, of course, age. And talking about age, let me say that the most important things is not that I'm director of the Independent Evaluation Office of UNFPA, but is that I'm not only a former young evaluator, but actually I'm a current young evaluator, at least in my heart. So before starting the session, let me say just a few words about UNFPA and how we are committed to young people. And we always say that we have a systemic approach to the aspect of youth empowerment in evaluation. Obviously, strengthening individual capacities is very important. That's why we supported EvalYouth in developing a career development program that they have delivered already several times in different languages. I have to say, unfortunately, not in Chinese yet. I hope that in future it will be possible also in Chinese language. Also supporting a mentorship program, scholarships, etc. But that's not enough. It's also important to have institutional development. And that's why, for example, in our evaluation policy, that is the normative framework that governs the evaluation function in UNFPA, we included the principle that our evaluations should engage young people. But engage how? Of course, I mean, as key informants, but that's absolutely not sufficient. Engage also as evaluators. And as of now, 40% of our evaluations already have young people in the evaluation team. But also engage them in the reference groups. So in our evaluations, representatives of youth organizations are advising on how to conduct evaluations. And even more importantly, by sharing power with young people. So for example, last year, for the first time in the UN system, we had an evaluation that was co-managed by our office and a youth steering committee that was composed of young people. And they were deciding together with us about how to manage the evaluations. But then it's also very important to facilitate access to the labor market for young people. And that's why, together with other UN agencies, we are coming together to create new positions for young evaluators in the United Nations system, both in the headquarters, regional offices, and country offices. And then, so systemic, so it's individual level, institutional level, but then it's also important, very important also to strengthen the enabling environment for a conducive, meaningful engagement of young people. And that's why, together with the EvalYouth and the Global Parliamentarian Forum for Evaluation, we launched the Youth in Evaluation initiative. And there is a manifesto for the meaningful engagement of young people that has been already signed by more than 1,000 between people and organizations, and there's really a commitment to engage young people. But that's not enough. So the Youth in Evaluation initiative also came up with standards for the implementation of this manifesto for the engagement of young people. And just this year, 45 different organizations, they self-assessed themselves in the implementation of the manifesto, and champions were identified. So just to say that there is a lot happening, and now we will also hear from experiences from different countries and different organizations about really how to meaningfully engage young people. And of course, let's start with the young people. So I would like to ask Cheng to tell us, what's your thinking from your perspective.
Hello, everyone, and nice to meet you. And my name is Cheng, and as introduced by Morocco, I am affiliated with both the Horizon Global Programs and also the UNDP China Country Office monitoring and evaluation teams. So, and today, on behalf of the Horizon Program, which is a young youth organization, which I believe most of you haven't heard of it, and I'm just going to briefly introduce what does our organization do, and later on, our founders, Mr. Chiwei, will have more comprehensive introductions. And I joined Horizon Program in 2022, and it is a program that each year we recruit 30 to 40 members into the Horizon programs, and they are very diverse in terms of their background, their career interest, and evaluation is part of it. And we have a lot of other training models, field missions, field research, attending conference, hosting events. So a lot of things going on, but evaluation has really been a crucial aspect of all our past engagement in development. And our program has started in 2017. So until now, we already have 7 years of experiences. So until now, we will have more than 200 co-host members already. And by far, there are about like 50 people are working or having a career in international organizations. About 30 to 40 people are having career aspiration with government, central government of China or the local counties, and other will also be entrepreneurs, private sectors, consulting services. Many of these are all in very, very diverse in terms of their backgrounds. And why I'm speaking this is because I want to first guide everyone to think about one question. So what makes a good evaluator? So I have been thinking a lot about what makes a good evaluator, and I believe the NEC is also about strengthening the national capacity of evaluation, right? So good evaluator would compass, they will have good research skills, critical thinking skills. They need to know the methodologies. They need to have a comprehensive understanding of the development topic, right? And also in the morning session, we talk about evaluator need to be humble. But at the same time, they also need to be making the ethical decisions of making the independencies of evaluation, right? So all these, I believe a lot of the trials could not be trained from academy only. What makes difference between a researcher and an evaluator is evaluator, they know about the development program. They know about how to execute. They know about how to put their theories into development impact and to assess that results. So that is why we have a very diverse of co-hosts, and evaluation is only part of the portfolio of all the empowerments. So I will just put maybe a funny way of metaphor. So have anyone know the ecological farm? So ecological farm is basically if you grow carrot only in a land, they will probably have a productivity of X. But if you grow carrot with cabbage, spinach, apple trees, pear trees, and also you got chicken raised. And so the entire ecosystem could really, if you have that structure accordingly, they could increase all the productivity of all the food. So that is also about why we are having a diverse co-host, and that could contribute to our future evaluation works. Just imagine right now, we are not only training future evaluators, but we are training evaluators with their future stakeholders, right? They will work with the government. They will have good friendships. They will have good networks. And that is what I feel about Horizon program since 2022, where I have joined. So there are two missions I have conducted alongside with the Horizon program. One is go to the Guizhou. So Guizhou is one of the province located in the center land of the city. And they are very diverse in terms of their ethics, and there are one tourist attraction called the MEL village, so a bunch of villages, and all is very, very, very distinct in terms of their house, and everyone would just go and visit. So I go there, and Korean program, typically our mission would have 3 to 4 teams conducting different topics. So first you do research. You walk around, you talk with villagers, you talk with villager head, you talk with local government, and know what are the development challenges that they are facing, not only in the populous area, but also to the villages. Different villages located in different zones of the nature reserve, because if you think about natural reserve, there are buffer zones, experimental zones, all different. And each village will have different development challenges. And as far as our evaluation could identify, so one village are facing difficulties of exploring or expanding their tourism industries, we will identify what caused that issues. And further, our innovating practices, because we are diverse, we have a lot of people in different activities. With recommendations, we also have the capacity of executing those. An example of developing a hack trials for that village. So in the future, they will have the tourism to come and to visit and to also promote the local economy. So I have no timer, so I don't know if I'm being too long, but I will just keep it short, and our founder will have more of the input of systematically how we have empowered all the youth in the development works. And this is just how I think it's very, very innovative in terms of thinking how you empower youth in evaluations, because development itself is very complex, and we need to address complex issues with more of the diversities of co-hosts and everyone supporting each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So before we go to the more senior, let's hear also another young voice. You talk a lot about the importance of diversity, diversity in a country, I mean in a huge country like China, but also diversity from an international perspective. And Antonina has been one of the leaders of this EvalYouth movement. So Antonina, over to you with your perspective.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Antonina Rishko-Porcescu. I am from Ukraine. And I'm working currently as independent evaluator, but also during the last 10 years, I'm involved in different volunteering initiatives like national, regional, global level, in promoting of youth engagement, in advocacy for evaluation overall. And in this session, I would like to base my responses on a third basis. First, it's like very recent study conducted this spring by the UNEC group of young and emerging evaluators, together with also with EvalYouth. It was like a mapping of engagement of young and emerging evaluators in UNEC agencies, actually in 62 UN agencies, and it's like a really good base to understanding where is the position of young and emerging evaluators in UN system. Secondly, as experience of volunteer in EvalYouth, like in the global level, but also regional level. And thirdly, it's also my personal experience as a young evaluator and like of my journey as evaluator from young evaluator, emerging evaluator, going to kind of a mid-career evaluator, yeah, during the last 10 years. So there are like several findings from mapping this exercise of what is like the main problems and main challenges of young and emerging evaluators in UN. And first of all, it's like around 20% of overall evaluators are young and emerging evaluators in the UN agencies. It's just like written. It depends on, of course, on the size of evaluation functions. And mostly, young and emerging evaluators are in headquarters and regional level. And at the local level and national level, it's a little bit like struggling to find young and emerging evaluators. And maybe it is also like an opportunity to bring more young people from like local experiences. Second finding is like on remote engagement. Surprisingly was like that even during COVID and during different like humanitarian interruptions, like for example in Ukraine, it was like shown that remote experience is also so valuable, same valuable as like physical presence of young emerging evaluators in evaluation processes. So sometimes we are thinking that we don't need to engage young people because it is just impossible. But it shows, like this mapping exercise, that it's still really valuable, and in some points it's like as valuable as like physical presence in these evaluation practices. Another point was like on the structure approaches, and it was shown that like different programs as like decision-making processes. And surprisingly that internal is, so those young and emerging evaluators who already working in UN agencies as staff members or like long-term consultants, most of them, like 90%, said that actually they are involved in decision-making processes. So like for internal young evaluators, UN system is quite open. But like for external one, it's not so much, and they are like reporting more limited involvement, being involved only in local and like local data collections. Yes, so basically they are or like key informant interviews or those who are actually gathering. Yes, yeah, like going the interviewers, they are going in the field and gathering, but they don't know even what is going except after all these processes. Second thing, it's also about recognition. Many years remain like unrecognized in reports, yes, and this is kind of one of pain point. For instance, many individual consultants, they have like assistants who are like helping them, yes, but they are not like mentioning them in the report. First of all, some of them maybe don't want to do that, but mostly it's like the structure of contracts of individual consultants. You cannot like subcontracting people, yeah, or something like that. Or it's like other many like problems in the procedures to have that person included name like in report. And what we've noticed that like it around like 70% of young emerging evaluators external who is working as a consultants are not mentioned in report. So it's a huge number of people whom we even don't know if that they are actually involved in evaluation processes. We just, we don't know them. We don't see their names. And another things on recognition, what popped up, it was that sometimes this like position of junior or youth evaluator create like a problem. It can hinder the career growth for young employees. And this was like mentioned that if you enter UN as a junior, as a junior, analyst or any kind of junior position, which is like written as junior. So in even in 2 years, in 3 years, you're still like junior analyst or junior like assistant or junior, and you're not trusted actually. You cannot be, often you're just, because of this junior mentioning, you're excluded from decision-making processes. So we need to be really careful of bringing young people, but still to treat them like equally, yes? So to give them opportunity not just to enter UN system and other organizations, but to give them the space to grow, yes? So not just to be like an entering point as a junior staff. Another thing is on engagement of local partners. As I said, that it's like a big point that to bring local youth into evaluation process, yes? And only 17% of respondents from this mapping exercise said that they are working with WOPES, yes, with a voluntary organization of evaluation, yes, from different sites, like from national, regional, but there is a big lack of limited capacity, yes, to work with WOPES. Some people said that they just don't know WOPES, the national and regional level. Others that it's not common to work with such associations. Yeah. So one more point: availability of knowledge management resources. Many UN organizations, they have some materials of engagement of youth, but they are really spread. So you cannot just type and look where is those resources, how I need to involve youth. Yes. And sometimes even evaluation managers, they want to, but it's kind of a difficult thing. Yeah, they need to look through. They need to they don't know where is this guidance, how to bring that, and it takes a lot of time. And we need to think actually to bring in those resources in one I don't know, platform more, and to show to everything together. Presence of EEs in rosters. Another things that many managers and at a different level said that they want to bring young emerging evaluators, consultants, even they have money for that, but they are not in rosters. You cannot find them. You want to have for example from Nigeria one local EE, but how? You need to go to university or to have connections with CSOs there. So it's kind of a long story, and they just give up. They're saying, okay, I will not do that because it's kind of difficult. So maybe we can, let's say, as a community of different organizations, to think about also that. And last point, but not least, is financial support for both internal and external young emerging evaluators. Most UN agencies financially support internal EEs. But they're not providing a good financial support for different external engagement. They expect meaningful participation in different kind of reference groups or advisory boards. Sometimes it's really long. It's for 3 years of advisory boards, but it's not paid positions, as you understand. It's purely volunteering, but sometimes it needs a lot of efforts, honestly, and people wondering why this young person cannot participate meaningfully, give a lot of time. But just you can participate from I don't know several months, 1 year, but you cannot sustainably participate longer period if it's positioned poorly volunteering. And we noticed that from experience of Ukraine, we had a lot of volunteers from Ukraine, but then when priorities changed, and like you cannot like bring those volunteers without like any paid positions, at least scholarships, you know, because people have like their families, they need to tackle other problems. And we need to understand that it's not about like, you know, payment and salaries, but still like some kind of support for this meaningful of participation of young people is really important. Thank you. Maybe it was long, sorry.
Thank you very much, Antonina. Also for giving us some data for reflection. For example, you know, I was quite struck by when you were saying that 70% of young evaluators who are team members are not acknowledged in the report. You know, it's something that I did not imagine. So thanks a lot. And you know, the aspect of you know, give opportunity for growth. You know, I started as my official title was young evaluator when I started with the UN, and here I am. So there is hope. so let's now go back to China. And as to Chu Wei, you are the founder of Horizon, of this global director of the Global Learning Center, but also the founder of this Global Youth Development Program. So after 7 years of experience, what can you share with us? What has been the learning in the meaningful engagement of young people?
Thank you, Wang. I will speak in Chinese, so please use earphone. Okay. Okay. 对，在我到清华大学创立地平线计划之前，我一直是在中国的国家审计署工作。如果大家了解的话，国家审计署是中国的一个中央组成部门，它的非常重要的职责就是去审计或者评估公共资金的使用的效能，包括它的真实性、合法性和它的效益性。实际上，我有11年的时间，主要在从事这个审计和评估的这样的工作。那2017年，我在清华大学设立了地平线计划。那在地平线计划的一个主要的目标，就是推动像王成这样的有志于参与全球可持续发展的青年们，让他们能够有更好的能力，去为全球共同发展来服务。那实际上，我们在这7年的时间里面，建立了一套让他们赋能青年者的这样的能力体系，其中有很大的一部分，我们是希望年轻人们能够关注到，什么是可持续发展目标，而且怎么样去评估可持续发展目标的进程和它实现的效果。那在7年的时间里面，我们建立了一套课程体系，这套课程体系是我们邀请了来自中国和国外的大学教授，包括国际组织的高级别项目管理人员，来为我们进行实务性的指导实践性的指导，让大家了解在联合国体系里面，或者说在我们发展项目当中，是怎么样进行项目的组织管理和后期的评价。那这样我们的同学们就能够很好的具备一个基本的概念，他们应该怎么样去了解或者去审视一个可持续发展项目。同时，在这样的基础上，我们还会推荐我们的青年成员加入到由我们中国的中央政府或者是国际组织共同设立的这样的合作网络当中去，让他们能够实地的跟随我们中央部委和这个国际组织的专家开展实地的这样的评估和调查。第3部分呢，是我们还会带领我们的青年人们到中国和海外的社区、企业去做我们叫可持续发展训练营。在这个过程当中，我们会鼓励他们去用自己的方法和我们给予他们的工具，去评估和监测当地可持续发展目标实现过程当中的一些实际的效果和存在的问题。同时，在这个基础上，他们针对这些发现的问题， 提供出自己的解决思路。最后呢，我们实际上目前还在做一个非常重要的尝试，就是依托我所在的清华大学，我们所掌握的大量的数据，经济社会发展的数据，用这些数据来进行可持续发展目标实现的这种科学化的评估。我们尝试在专家的指导下建立一个大数据的模型。这个大数据的模型可以采集我们来自于政府、来自于企业、来自于社会的各种各样的数据。在这个数据的基础上，我们建立了一个模型来评估某一个领域或者说某一个方向的可持续发展目标的实现的程度。这个是我们目前正在做的一个非常好的尝试。那在这样的一个过程当中，我们非常重视的是青年人与和他们导师之间的这样的一个互动。因为我们在一个导师所指导的学生当中，正如刚才王成讲的，他有非常强的多样性。我们有来自中国的同学，有来自海外的同学，他们有学习类似于像计算机这样的技术的专业的人士，同时也有学人类学、社会学这样的同学。那他这样的多元化的知识背景是可以给我们的导师以及他的研究团队一个很好的支撑。同时我们这些青年人们他们所具备的这个利用大数据利用新的数字化技术开展监测和评估的这样的技能，也非常好的支撑了我们的专家团队。所以说在我们的整个大的体系里面，已经形成了由中国的高校、国际组织和各个部委所形成的这样的一个 top 的一个顶层的行动网络，在行动网络下支持了我们青年人参与和推进自己在可持续发展评估方面的能力建设的这样的项目的实施，同时也推动了我们青年人在最下面一层进入到我们的社区，进入到我们的具体的企业开展评估的这样的行动。这是我们7年以来地平线计划在赋能青年，特别是推动青年关注和实施对可持续发展目标评估的这方面做出的一些工作。谢谢大家。
Shishe, thank you very much for sharing your experience. Clearly, from a different perspective, from the perspective of a very big university. Of course, I mean the importance of an academical curriculum, but that's only the first step. Also the mentorship program, the creation of this network so that you can give more opportunity, practical opportunity for young people to apply the theory that they gain through the university with the practical work, and the focus on the new technology where clearly young people can really be an important force. So let's now move from China. We remain in the region and we go to India. And so with a different perspective, we have Avinash Das, who is the Director of Evaluation at NEC that is really the kind of planning commission, let's say, of the government of India. And I have to say, and actually I would like to take this opportunity really to thank NEC for being one of the signatories of this manifesto for the meaningful engagement of young people that I mentioned before. So from a government perspective, what is really your view and your experience in engaging young people?
Hi. Thank you, Marco. Good afternoon, everybody. I am Avinash Das. I am Director Evaluation at DMEO, NITI Aayog, India. So DMEO stands for Development Monitoring and Evaluation Office. It is the apex body of evaluation in the country. And we actually facilitate the sub-national governments, that is the state government or province government, to conduct evaluations and monitoring effectively. So coming back to the theme of today's discussion is youth and evaluation. So youth, as Marco rightly said, are the present, not the future. So we engage with them in two ways. One is by encouraging them to come to our office and take hands-on kind of experience in conducting monitoring and evaluation through an internship program. So that's the entry point we start with. That starts like from 6 weeks to, it can go up to 6 months. And then there is a career and advancement program in that you can actually apply for young professionals and then go on to become consultant, level 1, level 2, and then higher levels also. So there is a hierarchy laid out. So that's we asking them to come to us. Then we said that why can't we go to them? So how can we reach out to youth? So we developed this innovation through innovative model of actually reaching out to the universities. So there are actually, we have conducted 3 rounds of evaluations. So 1 we have completed, 2 are undergoing. So what we do in this is that DMEO being the Office of Evaluation, we conduct some of the evaluations in-house. However, some of them we outsource. But now this is the 3rd model. What we are is like with engagement with these universities. And university means professors and students. So students, how do we engage with them? So we actually carry out, so first round I will give you a background of how did we conducted the round 1. That was like we reached out to 10 universities in 10 provinces. And then we engaged with these universities, led and formed a team from these universities, led by 1 professor or assistant professor. And there would be about 10 to 20 students ranging from bachelor's, master's, and even PhD students. So, but we had to kind of modulate this, this evaluation exercise because students have exams. So we can't help it. So we had to moderate along with their exam schedules and their preoccupation with other coursework. So what we did is that first we trained them because M&E is a growing field, as you all know. In India, is also a multi-million-dollar industry, and it's the consulting business. And the youth are actually the professionals for tomorrow. So when they get some kind of experience, hands-on experience, where they are, so they don't have to travel to New Delhi, so that to get this experience. So what we did is like, we trained them online, so COVID helped us to like get everything online, even the government. So we trained them online, like training of trainers. We built the capacities there through kind of how to conduct the evaluation from end to end. So what would be the theory of change? How would you frame the questionnaires? We did the questionnaires and send it to them for their feedback. And then also developing the CAPI tools and asking them to actually fill, bench test it, and then send us the feedback. We went each, for the 10 states, each, there were a 3-member team from NITI Aayog, which went and handhold them actually how to conduct it. So, and they were actually doing it for the first time and very much enthusiastic about how to apply these tools. Some of them are from very varied backgrounds, so not from economics, sociology, engineering, but they wanted to, like as you all know, to be an M&E or evaluation specialist, you don't have to be a social science expert. So even in consulting business, many are coming from the engineering background. So we actually tapped into that potential of people, young people from the universities, and they actually did the hands-on like data collection, then the analysis, cleaning of the data and doing the analysis, and then submitting their state level reports. And also we sought, so we did 2 things. One, we are providing them the certificate for participation. That is a kind of encouragement. Also we said that whoever writes the best kind of village evaluation, we will also give another prize for that, first, second, third. So actually kind of boosting competition and also encouraging them to be involved. And we ourselves were there to like train them on the field and also through online modes through the training of the trainers. So this is how we conducted the first round. So, and then the second round we are doing it for the 12 more states. And the third round we will be completing kind of 36 states and union territories in India. So we'll be covering all the sub-national provinces in India. So that is how we are actually connecting with the youth not only by providing them an opportunity to come in and work for us, but wherever they are in the universities, so that is where they will pass out from. So we are actually reaching out to them and actually training them in M&E capacity, and also this is not a tokenism purpose. So we are actually building a kind of M&E capacity at the subnational level. And even there, many of the universities have actually reached out to us to say that we would want to collaborate with you to form an M&E unit. So that's the kind of involvement we are taking up, and this is the way forward. I would come to other things when the second round comes, and obviously in the Q&A. Over to you, Marco.
Thank you very much. Another very interesting experience. So, Antonina, another examples where you know, a government, this time not a United Nations, is providing not only entry point with internship, but then really a kind of career development profile. So, but also the importance of really the partnership between governments and universities. So the reaching out to university also is very important. So let's remain with a perspective from governments. And so let's hear from Sakina Mwinyimkuu, who is working in the Prime Minister Office of Tanzania. So from what has been your experience?
Thank you so much, Marco. Good afternoon, everyone. This discussion, of course, reminds me with a lot of thinking way back, because I was then a youth. Now I'm just elevated to another level. So when I was in primary school in 1990s, in the middle of 1990s, of course, my father was working in the government institution, so he was transferred from Kilimanjaro region to Dar es Salaam, which is the city, it's like any other busy city around African countries. So when he was transferred there, he was given a house and all facilities like a government official. And he refused. He said, no, just give me because if you don't stay in government houses, you are given the money on your own. You can just hire a house and then you live. So he decided to take the money. So if I have that knowledge at that time, I could have advised him to take the house. Because you know what happened after 10, 15 years? Those houses were sold to government offices. So my father could have a house at the center of the city in Dar es Salaam. So that's my starting statement, that the youth are the ones to determine the today, tomorrow, and the future. Because at that time I was youth, so I could have decided for my future. Imagine now I don't have that house at the middle of the city because of the decision made of my father. So that's why this session is very important to me, and because I'm in the government and we are policymakers, and at some point we are also implementing. So we need also to think thorough when it comes to the future of the coming generation, the today and the future. We don't need to decide for them. They have to decide for their fate, because they are the ones to enjoy whatever is coming out of it. So my concern, especially in the government now, after just reflection and seeing the experiences and the challenge I'm seeing coming from the youth engagement in evaluation, like we have just mentioned by my colleagues, the lack of skills, not being involved in evaluation, not being recognized, and something like that. So we in the government, we have decided to ensure we have M&E champions within the government, from local government up to the ministry level. So the champions are the youth. Every ministry have the champions coming from different section and units within the same institution, but we encourage most of those champions to be youth because they will also be involved in doing evaluations, reporting on the feedback, sharing the knowledge and information getting out from evaluations. So I think from that angle, it will also help us to first to increase knowledge on evaluation to the youth within the government, but also to, of course, they will be able to decide the use of the findings which are coming out from different evaluations. And out of that, we are now developing monitoring because, we are just make them being attracting to come to in evaluation, but we need also to put the systems in place, including having MNE cadre within the government, because now they are asking, how are we going to work in the government? How are we going to work in evaluation while we don't know our responsibilities, which have been clearly stepped out? So we have thus decided to develop MNE, like kind of scheme of service to define their roles and responsibilities. And, but also we are thinking of having like a competence framework for them to understand what entails for them to be evaluators, what are the skills needed, what are the activities that to be done to be upgraded to different levels in evaluation. So we think this also is an incentive for youth to be well engaged in evaluation within the government, but also to be the really champions and to determine whatever kind of results and future they want to build themselves from evaluation aside. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for reminding us with a personal story of why youth are the present for the future. And also sharing this very interesting practice of the champions, inviting mainly from young people, and once again the importance of having a system in place with clear roles and responsibilities. So now let's move to, it's not government, it's not exactly academia. I mean, you can explain exactly, is an hybrid somehow. Is the Clear Center, and Sohini is the lead for the Clear Center in Asia. So from your perspective, what has been your experience?
Thanks, Marco. Hi, everyone. I'm Sohini. I'm very happy to be here. Also, the challenge of being the 7th person to speak is, as people were speaking, I was just crossing out points that were already discussed because I don't want to repeat. So how can I add to the conversation, right? So that's the challenge. I think, so taking a step back, right? I think we need to start by understanding that, so the first point to me is there is an unequal power structure, and we need to acknowledge that. The young evaluators and the seasoned evaluators, there is a power dynamics that is involved. And we need to recognize that, and only then we can begin the conversation. I think, adding to that, I think what I would say is, to answer to Marco's question, which is basically, how can we make this more meaningful, right? Or inclusive in the real sense, so that it is not tokenism. I think to me, to make it really inclusive, what it really means is inclusion should not be an afterthought. So if we are running any of these internship, mentorship programs in our respective centers, in our organizations, it should be thought of at the very beginning and not necessarily as an afterthought. And what that means is, what is it that the youth, why are we leveraging youth? What is it that they are bringing to the table, which is different and unique, which a seasoned evaluator is not bringing to the table, and making that R&R very, very clear. I think that thinking needs to come at the very beginning. So to kind of give you very specific examples of what I mean by that. So in addition to the internship programs, we have 3 separate fellowship programs that our center runs. And the objectives of all 3 are very, very different. So in one fellowship program, the idea is, and that's a problem with a lot of developing countries. For example, me and people in my center, most of us have learned about evaluation because we went to colleges outside India, mostly in the Western countries, either in US or UK, because these programs are not taught in academic institutes in India. And that's a problem, because these are traditional academic institutes in India. So in one fellowship program, what we are trying to do is to bridge that gap, to have more Sohinis in the system, so to say, so that, and the idea is, and I think one of you mentioned this, that it is not just the technical aspect of it, you also want to mentor them in the process so that they can enter the evaluation space. So that's the very specific objective of that fellowship, Research for Impact Fellowship. The second fellowship that we have is called an Indian Scholars Program. And here, the problem that we are trying to solve is slightly different. We realize that in India, a lot of evaluators, or so-called junior evaluators, also don't understand impact evaluation. They may understand research in general, but they don't know what is impact and how to distill impact in a program. You know, what does counterfactual or comparison group even mean, right? So from a methodological standpoint, or even like what does that look like in practice, they don't know. And to make that, again, that bridge that gap, what you need is you need seasoned evaluators, work with junior evaluators, have a mentorship in an actual project that they co-own together. And we give them funding, we give them grants so that they can together run the program on the ground. So that's a very clear objective, that through that experience, then these evaluators who might be junior faculty members can then go ahead and run their own impact evaluations in the country. And then finally, the third program that we have, again, the clear objective of that is with all the AI, machine learning, data science that is come up, evaluators are oftentimes playing the catching game because we don't come, oftentimes many of us don't have the technical skills. Data scientists sometimes have that skill. And there are data scientists who want to enter the space. And these are junior, young data scientists who want to enter the development space. And through that fellowship, we are trying to bridge that gap, where we are trying to get young data scientists enter the development space, again, through a mentorship, hand-holding engagement. But I think bottom line is, I think one point that I think Antonina mentioned, where she spoke about, again, very astonishing numbers, 70% of cases, people are not even recognized, right? I think, and that's a very common problem in academia, where you have, and again, 6-7 months back, it was a big movement in India, at least in social media, where people were calling out professors, again, based in US, UK universities, who had junior, evaluators helping them in project, almost like running the project from India. But they were not even, I would actually push the conversation by saying inclusion is not enough. You want to be even acknowledged as a co-author if you are contributing enough, right? I don't want the young evaluators to be just okay being recognized in the footnote, right? If you are contributing enough in ideation and development, you should have a co-author space, right? And people were actually calling out these examples. Again, it stems from the unequal power structure, but I think time has come to shift the needle and reclaim the power, so to say. I'll stop there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, especially for reminding us that, if we really want meaningful engagement, we have to be intentional. It will not happen just, by chance. It has to really to be intentional. And I think the example that you gave about the co-own together is exactly about the meaningful engagement of young people. So with the permission of the panelists, I mean, the program was to run a second question, but then we will not have time really for dialogue with all of you. So with your permission, I would like to open up the floor. We have about 30 minutes. And really if you have questions for the panelists, but also if you want to share your experience, this is really the time and the opportunity for doing that. And then for the panelists, you know, when you will address questions, comments, etc., if you had some additional means to include, just feel free to do that. So I would like to open the floor, and please just briefly introduce yourself, you know, who you are, where do you work, the country, etc., and then just, you know, pose your question or share your comments. And I already see one hand. I don't know if we have mics in the room to be. So now here, no, I think.
So thanks, first of all, for letting me go in first. I am Jerry Kamau. I'm the regional advisor on RBM and evaluations, working with UNDP, the Regional Bureau for Africa, based in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. I think this conversation will not have come at a better time, and particularly for our continent in Africa, where we have some countries with 65% or even maybe more than 70% of the population being defined as youth. So you can imagine we are trying to define a future for more than 60 to 70% of the population. And so if you don't incorporate or if you don't involve and engage that particular component of the population, then there's a big problem. And I think you have seen what has been happening in some of the contexts in Africa and even maybe in some of the countries in Asia, and particularly because the youth do not have opportunities. And I think we have to be very intentional as development practitioners and even as evaluation practitioners in terms of how we can bring those people on board. But not just about having the numbers, it's about meaningfully engaging this particular population. And we have to be very intentional, and I'm glad to hear your experience in terms of how UNFPA has actually gone ahead and tried to institutionalize and do that in a very engaging way. I think this is something that we need to learn, particularly from UNDP, and I'm glad I actually attended this particular session. I think, and what I'd like to learn from the young practitioners, what is your experience, particularly when it comes to being involved in evaluations, and especially when it comes to areas which are very, I would say they require seasoned evaluators? And do you feel like challenged? Are you able to express yourself? Are you able to, are your recommendations, for example, taken in, and maybe some of your advice taken in? And how can we support you as international development practitioners? And this goes to the young people on board. Thank you.
Thank you. So my name is Anna Warnholz, and first of all, I'm a young and emerging evaluator. Second, I'm the focal point for youth at GEI. And third, I'm a former student of empowerment studies. So those are three elements that are important for the context of my comment. So I really resonate with what Sohini said, since I thought a lot about power structures and empowerment, self-empowerment. And I really think that as a young and emerging evaluator, we depend on other people, on structure to open doors, to access to resources, to get the opportunity to participate in decision making. And I think to overcome these challenges and this power structure, empowerment is key, and we have heard it already. So that includes awareness, it includes education, but a key element I think is also community, like to be able to, self-empower as a young and emerging evaluator, to exchange experiences, also to maybe complain, I don't know. And I would love to hear which role do you think plays this creating of safe spaces, maybe of community in your interventions or in your programs. And I know that EvalYouth is quite a really exciting space for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Futhi Mazibuko from South Africa in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. I came to this session because I am the voice of the 5 graduate interns that are under my grooming and just teaching them on evaluation. So my experience is what we see from what they learn from university, the curriculum is a bit off from what we do in practice in government. As much as they do policy, as much as they get introduced to monitoring and evaluation, also the curriculum across the universities in South Africa are not really standardized. So who's coming from a different angle may have been exposed to something that the other has never been exposed to. And again, in terms of technology, I also believe that in evaluation, when it's mostly on the skills side. Whatever that they learn at university does not get into practicals when it comes to analysis, and they struggle with analysis. They may understand the concepts and principles and how to put together, but then when it gets in the middle where it's very practical and critical, then they really struggle to put those together. So mine is to say, I don't know how, according to your experience, how have you noticed the imbalances or the skills gap in terms of the data analysis skill versus the evaluation field skills? And thank you so much.
Thank you very much. In South Africa, we have a program with Willful program for emerging evaluators, and I think it's also in partnership with Clear AA. So I'm wondering, I've seen how those emerging evaluators, the products, like I've seen them, they're really sharp when they come out of that program, because over and above giving them the theoretical information, there's also some practical application, practical, like the doing of evaluations. So, and I'm saying how, in as much as we create expectation at the end, they come out sharp, how do we also address some systematical challenges of unemployment? I can imagine having developed such an evaluation card that is so sharp, and then there you are, there are no opportunities for utilization. One can imagine such a thing. And as I'm listening here, I'm seeing youth as being on the receiving side, like it's a top-down, like them learning from us. But are we also willing to learn from them? Because with the invention of technology, at times you realize they are so much ahead of us. And and then in terms of number 3, data collection, I'm wondering in evaluation, have we also, especially in terms of data collection, have we also considered technological methods of data collection that resonate with them? Like, you find youths in Twitter or TikTok, all those. Have we thought about that? Because I'm imagining in a study where your target group is other youth, because over and above involving them in the, but also when you are doing an evaluation that targets them as their source of data collection, you'd want to think about where can I find them. I can imagine if you send a survey, a long one, and you send them to their emails, they might not even respond. And then think about data collection methods where TikTok, you find them. Something like that. Thanks.
It already on? Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Silvia Grandi from Global Affairs Canada. I have in the evaluation division, I have a very simple question, which is how do we define youth? Can we have a common definition of youth? And again, maybe my background is in gender, so we all know gender is a social construct. So I wondered, is there a dimension of like a social construct in youth, or is it only a biological? And thinking about my personal experience across Italy and Canada, I know that being 20 or 25 in Italy is very different than being 20 or 25 in Canada. So I would be curious to hear from you, how do you take this maybe contextual dimension into consideration when you think about youth? Thank you.
Okay, great. So thank you very much for very rich questions, comments, etc. So to be fair, this time I would like to start with those who were very patient in the first round. So as we have only 20 minutes, I don't think that each of us or each of you as panelists will have time to address each and every question. Just pick the one where you feel more, yeah?
So maybe I can try to answer Anna W's question. There are two Annas in GEI, so yeah. Okay, so I think that's a very fair question on who gives the safe space. I think the way I think of it is who has the power. They have probably the agency to give the space, right? So in my experience, I was actually very fortunate when I was in grad program. My professors who I wanted to work with, they give me like first author, not even co-author, I was the first author in those papers. And the fact I could never ask, right? The fact that my professor gave me the space, I think that's, and I think the same goes for all young evaluators, right? I think the onus is not on them, the onus is on us, on how we can empower them.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think now we need to acknowledge with this fourth industrial revolution, then the youth, they are there to stay, and we have no way to get them out, and we need to give them space because they are the ones, first they are fast when it comes to technology. We are all trying to follow them, but if we want things to go fast, things to be taken into higher consideration, because if you mess up with youth, in Tanzania there is a famous saying, we say, youth is like a bomb. If you don't listen, you don't give them space, then the bomb could, anytime could explode. So I think it's the really a chance, especially for us in the government when we are developing our policy, because now we are developing evaluation policy. I think the consideration should also begin to youth, because they are the really world as we are talking from now. Thank you.
Yeah. So I will start from a very interesting observation from the South African delegate. So regarding like from being a student to a practitioner, how do you transition? So that transition is actually, that is why some kind of like internship programs, as you are already mentoring them. So you need to develop kind of, there are actually two ways to handle it. One is from the beginning itself, like your universities, your as educational institution, they should provide such kind of certificates. Like we have masters in public policy. Why can't we have masters in monitoring and evaluation? That's a question we need to ask. Why there are not so many formal courses offered in our higher educational, in India also, as Sohini was mentioning, it's not offered as a kind of full-fledged courses. One paper in some course, in masters or somewhere. So it's in bits and pieces, and then they learn on the job. Now, how do they learn on the job? That's where the mentorships come in, we come in, and then we need to also have a packet of toolkits right away to provide to them. So whenever any interns come to my office, actually I tell them, you do study for 1 week or 2 weeks, so, and then get to know the organization and what do we do and how do we do. you have questions, please come to me, my team, and then explain to them how actually we are doing what we are doing. So they have to actually be a part of your system in order to understand what are your requirements, and then you ask from deliverables from them, right? So that is way like it's kind of grooming, mentoring them, and that is how actually there will be a smooth transitioning of this process. Also, you need to, obviously, I think you will be providing them letter of recommendations for their study abroad. That is one of the big thing where the interns come to my office. So they want to study in US or something. So they, this internship helps them to in their applications. Apart from that, actually, I was also listening to co-learning. Yeah, that's a very, very valid point, especially because of the technology. I use R, I use data, but people nowadays who come, actually they are good at Python. They do their own kind of coding and come out with how to conduct multiple regression analysis, and they have their own kind of software. They know like more than us. So that's why there is a very good need for them to learn and co-learn, for us also to learn from them. So not only, and then thereby in our office, we also actually give them opportunity to publish, and in not only us, but we also give interns, the young professionals, whoever has worked not in the footnote but as authors. So as per the contribution, so everybody is equally recognized. So unless you do that, there is, we have published in APEA, Asian Pacific Economic Evaluation Journal, and there we have actually provided names of everybody and their designations. So that is the way you have to like include them. And as far as like WFP's this thing, they have a good manual for entry point of monitoring and evaluation. We also developed actually about 9 modules in monitoring and evaluations, which we provide to the government officials, and also we are opening it to wider platform now. So there you can actually, it's kind of 1.5 hour and ranging from half hour to 1.5 hour. And from then end to end, you can understand what is the monitoring and evaluation systems in India, and actually how to implement it. It's not about like giving an overview. What are the systems? What are the methods? What are the questionnaires? How do we develop a questionnaire? How do we actually implement the evaluation from scratch to the end, producing reports, how to write an executive summary. And because like we are catering to the policymakers, they don't have that much of bandwidth to read through your 300-page evaluation report. They will actually look into the executive summary. How beautifully you write them is, so we have actually prepared a module on how to write an executive summary, because that is where your evaluation reports get evaluated and taken into policy making decision. That's it, Mark.
I think for young people, the problem is not that they do not have the skills to work. The problem is that they do not understand the real situation of economic and social development, and do not have enough experience to show and understand the problems in sustainable development. So I think we should promote provide the skills and the knowledge to support to understand the real world and to find the real problem in the sustainable development. Okay.
And okay, thanks to everyone for the questions. I think the question, it got already like 5 or 6 questions, and all very, very good questions, very diverse in terms of how we engage and intervene. But I will just summarize in 3 points of my backup. So I fully agree with what Mr. Chue has mentioned. Evaluation, many of the skills doesn't really came from training. It came from practice. The reason of this is because I also participated in the IPDET indicator online workshop. I applied for the on-site training for evaluations, but I end up online learning indicators, reading all the articles, how to design indicators. They're very, very good theories and a lot of knowledge, but however, all that is not meaningful to me unless I know how development program works. And I'm really having the privilege of working with UNDP China Country Office as MAE specialist because I am actually the evaluation QA assessors or the evaluation manager. So when the evaluator has drafted their reports, we will get the reports and then we will QA it and have all our feedback in all the trials and then give it back to evaluators. So I have that exposure of knowing what should a good evaluator report look like. And I think I also wish I had more of the practical experiences of executing development programs so that I can make more sense of what is real the impact of the results. So for example, just give an example, NEC, the event is definitely is also part of the theory of change of like how UNDP IEO is trying to shape the global evaluation space, right? And if I don't have the experiences of executing or facilitating the events, registering all the attendees and knowing like what are their opinions, what are their experiences look like, so I may not really know how to assess their results or the impact on the future. So I think training and all these evaluation skills really came from practice. And from practice until that, and you also need to work with a diverse range of stakeholders, knowing what they want, knowing what the government's opinion of evaluations, knowing what they are looking for and why they are looking for certain things, and knowing like what are their interests inside development. And that is really only came from practice. Like you cannot learn from school, right? Why people negotiate like and they say something and they do different, right? And this is something I think evaluator, the next generation evaluator, really need to have, is that the critical thinking skills or the practical experiences to know how program works and why we should discover that truth. So. Why that is also why in my first speech I highlighted why all my co-hosts are from other diverse sectors really is helping me to understand development. For example, if I am talking with one of the entrepreneurs, I will know how they visualize or the business acumen of the market, right? And the market is important. Many of our development initiatives are related to market. We are empowering the local community to be further developed. They need to sell their stuff. They need to be engaged in the economic activities. So their perspective is important. And I think training should also be involved with that. And also the second point, challenges. Totally agree. I can't agree more that as a junior person propelling the career in UN is very hard. I switched like for four contract already, starting from internship to consultant, to short-term PSA, to UNV. So many of the contracts have been switched. But I think I have developed all my expertise, and I am prepared to be an independent evaluator. But most of evaluation are recruiting people with master's degree first and 5-year work experiences, right? So these are very, very harsh thresholds for me to get in. However, on the other sense, I think we have mentioned like we all have fellowship, internship experiences to empowering youth into evaluation work. They are amazing. Another approach of doing this is having civil societies organization to have evaluation units or have monitoring and evaluation groups, which could help people to start practice. And this is also why NEC is also like fostering the evaluation culture. We are not only doing evaluation from the top-down perspective from the government, but we are trying to have the professional systems and the social system to include M&E into it. So for giving an example of our Horizon program, because I'm right now leading the Horizon program's evaluation portfolio, I have already established a team with 4 of the Horizon IEO or IEG, the evaluation groups. And we will practice our evaluation experiences because we have very diverse portfolios and we are very good at doing things, but we're not very good at capturing the results and accumulating that in our execution. So starting from there, I will work with civil societies in perspective M&E. I think this is also one approach that young people could be engaged as evaluators in the very perspective, but because they don't have threshold, right? We are all volunteers. I can practice the skill that I really want. And lastly, I think it's also very, very important to realize what is the end goal of our evaluation, right? We are not just trying to get a report at the end of the day saying like capacity building is important. more communication is needed, but we are trying to have these recommendations really could be integrated in the program and to make future changes so that we can learn and make management, more informed management decisions, right? And in that sense, I think youth could have more capacities, more ways of influencing our development initiative if they are working with all other diverse stakeholders. If they have friends in other sectors, if they know other organizations, or they know like how this works, and they know the people who to go to if this recommendation has been proposed, who is going to be executing it, or do we have that capacity of executing this? Just one very short example. So thinking of a recommendation of saying the project or the city need more publicities. They need to be known by the people. So how are we going to executing this? It could be very simple and fun. Like right now, you know, TikTok, Redbook, short videos, right? Great volumes. Why we cannot just like having short videos or all these recorded and to promote? Or this is exactly what we have done in one of the cities. Like they are just developed and they are invested by one of the state-owned enterprises, and they are trying to attract population to living there. So what we do is, because we have graphic designers, so we just design 17 postcards with SDG elements and the city elements. This just could be printed and to be communicated with others. So recommendation could be more fun, more actionables, and these are also what young people could contribute. And because we know more about what is the current market, what is the demand, what is other young people want, they may just want to travel, they may just want to do fun things. So this is also like how we should perspective development in a more complex and more innovative and more fun way of like proposing recommendations. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So maybe I will address the last questions on youth. As a representative of EvalYouth, and also what was agreed on UNEC level of a proposal of a group of young and emerging evaluators of UNEC. It's young and emerging evaluators is evaluator under 35 years old and or with less than 5 years of experience. Yeah, so it's like twofold things. It can be like young person until 35, but it also can be like a person who has experience with less than 5 years. So it's kind of a big pool of people actually, as you can understand. And regarding these gaps and understanding, appreciating of skills of young people, interesting was in this mapping exercise, which I was like mentioning, that almost all like participants agreed that this energy is very important of young people. Like technological savviness is like noted as a very important knowledge of like different technologies, platforms, etc. It's very important. But at the same time, more than half of like evaluation managers says that they don't use actually these skills of young and emerging evaluators. Yes, they don't know how to use that. Yeah, so it's like very underutilized because it's evaluation is done in more traditional way as it was done like 20 years ago and etc. So at the same time, we need like to think how to bring those experiences as skills like more, yes, meaningfully. And it was like a lot of questions about creating a space, how to bring both sides, like seniors, younger generations. And from experience of EvalYouth mentoring program, for example, at the regional level, we use this like intentionally to bring that both sides actually understand that they need to be like engagement in learning. Not only mentees, but like mentors should be prepared. That they are not like only translator of information, but they need to hear something, yes, to listen, to learn from. They need also to bring like some results of this mentoring program, yes, for themselves. And they need to have like, first of all, some kind of a common interests in order to create this like, you know, good experience of engagement and learning. But also, I don't know, in regional level, we also have a big stage of preparation for we actually have workshops with mentors to give them opportunity to understand that they also can have some information from some, you know, benefits from this mentoring program. They can directly choose mentees with whom they work, but also we give this opportunity to mentees to choose mentors. So they are like have commitments, understanding to each other. And it's like many other examples. which we don't have time to to say. But it's the main thing that if we are thinking about that like we need to bring the spaces intentionally and to make like prepared, yes, to prepare those people actually to participate in this mentoring, fellowship, internship, whatever programs, or even in evaluation processes. If we are not just saying to evaluation managers, you need to bring junior evaluators, that's it, but we actually provide some guidance, provide like time when this evaluation manager can like, you know, teach or like to work, to engage, to participate with this junior person. Yeah, so this is the thing. Yeah, thank you.
No, thank you very much. I mean, really very, very rich and interesting. I also wanted to react to some comments and questions, but unfortunately we don't have time. So let me just try to wrap up the session, and really only with the 3 key takeaway messages that I got from the incredible discussion this afternoon. The first one is really the importance of partnership. I mean, we had comments on the gaps between, you know, what is taught in the academia and what is actually needed in practice. So really the importance of partnership between academia and government, or academia and practitioner, and these transitions that you were talking about. So the aspect of really starting with a curriculum, academic curriculum, but then really to have a kind of a path for an entry point to the labor market as a junior, but then also to have really a career perspective. So partnership not only between different organizations, but also the intergenerational partnership. I think it was very clear that it cannot be one way, it has to be double way. We as senior evaluators, we have a lot to learn from young evaluators, and vice versa. So it's very important that we are open-minded and ready to learn. It doesn't matter if you are a junior evaluator or if you are the director of an evaluation department. We all have to learn from each other. Second key takeaway message is really the need to be intentional. If we really want to enforce meaningful engagement of young people, as I was mentioning in the beginning, it doesn't come alone. It doesn't come, you know, by nature. It really has to be intentional. Intentional not only at personal level, but at institutional level. It has to be embedded in whatever normative framework we have in our respective organizations. And then we really have to try to implement it. And the good news, and that's the third key takeaway message, the good news is that there is already a lot happening. And that's why I would like to take this opportunity really to invite all of you to sign this manifesto for the meaningful engagement of young people. You just have to search in internet, you know, manifesto, youth engagement. And there you have the kind of commitment, and then there are also standards for how to implement those commitments, and every year there will be champions, or organizational champions, that will be selected based on the actual practice for that. And last but not least, please join me in a big round of applause for all the panelists, really, and all the participants for the great comments and questions. Thanks a lot, and let's continue together in making that even more a reality. Thank you very much.